Okay, well, welcome everybody. My name is Mary Beth Gonzalez, and I'm the president of the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation. I'm also Dr. Gonzalez's widow, and we were married for nearly 15 years, and I learned an awful lot about his work during that time, and dare I say, even more after. Um, This webinar today is about how we are reversing Lyme disease and building natural immunity with the Gonzalez protocol. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our foundation. Uh, Essentially, the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation started because a group of devoted patients, colleagues of my late husband and I, got together a few months after Nick died in 2015 and put together this 501c3 public charity as a research and education foundation aimed to raise awareness and expand Dr. Gonzalez's nutritional enzyme treatment that we call the Gonzalez Protocol. It was really important to us that his life's work didn't die along with him, and that his voice was not silenced. So what you're going to hear about today is a program that we call the Gonzalez Protocol, and it really is a guide to living. It's not just a quick fix or a cure. It's not just alternative medicine. It's really a lifestyle where we show you through individualized diet, supplements, detoxification, and spirituality how to build up your immune system so you can fight off any disease. And we have educated a select group of doctors on how to implement the Gonzalez protocol over the past few years. And we call them the Gonzalez Guardians because they are the protectors and they are propagating his life-saving work. We've also published several health tools that you can access on your own. Everything is available to you on our website, thegonzalezprotocol.com. So today's focus is going to be on building natural immunity. Now, Dr. Gonzalez actually received very high acclaim for his approach in treating all different types of cancer. And many people didn't know that he actually had an equal number of patients in his private practice that he treated for autoimmune diseases and for general disease prevention. So here on the screen are some of a few of the conditions that he treated in his nearly 30 years of practicing medicine in New York City. And you can find his general advice for all of these conditions on the screen on our website. The Gonzalez protocol is based on very scientifically proven principles of nutrition and primarily the concept that not everyone is going to thrive on the same type of diet. And you're going to hear a lot more about that concept from Dr. Yanover in a few minutes. But for those of you who are seeking to understand this principle in more detail, you can read Dr. Gonzalez's award-winning book, Nutrition and the Autonomic Nervous System. This is a book that I literally found in about 10 different pieces in random files in Dr. Gonzalez's personal computer. Didn't even know he'd been working on it. And after he died and I found all these files, I shared them with some doctors and they said, this is revolutionary work. You need to publish this. So I published this book in 2017. And many people claim that of all of his 8 books, it's their very favorite. So you can purchase this on Amazon if you're interested in learning more. Our speaker today is Dr. Marina Yanover, and Dr. Yanover is a licensed naturopathic physician who received her degree from the acclaimed Bastyr University. One of the most remarkable aspects of her training is that she actually interned with Dr. Gonzalez in his office, an honor that very, very few people have ever had the opportunity to do so. Dr. Yanover was certified in 2019 by our foundation in the Gonzalez protocol, and she's been offering the protocol now for several years out of her clinic in Westport, Connecticut, which is a suburb of New York City. We are so fortunate to have her on our team. After her presentation, we will be answering your questions. Like I said earlier, just put them in the chat as you wish during the seminar. And now I'd like to introduce Gonzalez guardian, Dr. Marina Yanover.
Thank you, Mary Beth. So hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Marina Yanover, and it's been a great honor to be a part of the Gonzalez Foundation. And yes, I did intern with Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, and it was a wonderful opportunity. Many of you, maybe some of my patients who have known me for many, many years, you probably heard me talking about this a lot. And I was so happy that this seminar was actually organized, and now we are able to practice the Gonzalez protocol. And so my specialty is autoimmune diseases and Lyme disease, and that's where I apply the Gonzalez protocol the most. So today's objectives are going to be to talk about who was Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez and Dr. William Kelly, how the protocol was originated, what are the autoimmune diseases, the autoimmunity, what is Lyme disease, the mechanism, how it affects the patient, why some people get it worse than others, what is a good immune system, and how immunology plays role in developing of these diseases. And then finally, we talk about the role of Dr. Gonzalez, the Gonzalez's protocol in the health of the immune system. So this is Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, great picture. Dr. Gonzalez was an immunologist who treated cancer patients, and he has been known mostly for treating cancer patients. But he also treated a variety of other degenerative diseases, like Mary Beth said before, such as chronic fatigue syndrome, Lyme disease, and autoimmune disorders. And he used his specific nutritional enzyme therapy. During his immunology fellowship, he studied under Dr. Robert A. Good, who was a father of modern immunology and still considered a father of modern immunology. And during that time, Dr. Gonzalez did a research study evaluating Dr. William Donald Kelly's aggressive nutritional therapy program in advanced cancer treatment. So Dr. William Donald Kelly, these are the important people that we're going to talk about. Dr. William Donald Kelly, Francis Pottinger, both senior and junior, and the autonomic nervous system. Basically, the autonomic nervous system is very important in the diet that was developed by all these guys that we're going to be talking about. Francis Pottinger and then Dr. William Donald Kelly researched his work. Francis Pottinger Jr. Did famous cat study about the role of nutrition. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about his autonomic nervous system book, which is the foundation of this protocol, where he talks about two branches of the nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic, and how important it is to bring those two branches into balance. And then there was Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, who put it all together. This is young Dr. Gonzalez, while he is going through his fellowship research, studying with Dr. Kelly in Texas. He studied with him for 5 years. And this is Dr. William Donald Kelly. He was an orthodontist by degree, but he was very interested in nutrition. Dr. Kelly got sick with pancreatic cancer. Even though he was very interested in nutrition, he didn't really practice good nutrition. He worked very hard, was always busy, ate on a run, didn't eat good diet at all. But when he got cancer, his mother came over to him and said, change your diet, got rid of junk food. So Kelly changed his diet, started taking pancreatic enzymes, and discovered that he needs to detoxify in order for this program to work. So by doing these three components, he cured himself from pancreatic cancer. After that, people found out that he got cured when he only had a couple of months to live, according to conventional doctors. So they got interested and they started calling him and asking for help. So Dr. Kelly started helping patients who had cancer and other degenerative illnesses. He realized when you give the body what you need, when the body needs, it actually will recover and rejuvenate on its own. So Kelly was mostly vegetarian, Kelly developed different metabolic types. Vegetarian is one of them. He mostly ate fruits, vegetables, juices, whole grains, nuts, seeds, eggs, and dairy products. His diet plus the pancreatic enzymes and detoxification cured him from cancer. And his diet made him feel the best. Initially, Kelly thought that everyone should follow this diet. But later, through the work of Francis Pottenger and some of his patients who didn't respond very well to a vegetarian diet, Kelly realized that everyone did not do well by eating the same. Some people needed to eat red meat. And one of the examples was his wife, Susie, who had severe allergies. This is Susie and Dr. Kelly, and Susie was not doing well. Initially, she was doing well on the diet that Dr. Kelly put her on, but later he didn't. So Dr. Kelly realized that she needed to eat red meat, actually. So he tried everything on her because first he believed that everyone should be vegetarian. And after she progressively got worse, he said, the only thing I didn't try on you is red meat. So he said, eat red meat. And to his surprise, Susie started getting better. So Dr. Kelly developed 3 basic types and variation of them. These are the 3 basic types. This is a quote from Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez' book, Nutrition and Autonomic Nervous System. There are 3 general category types of people. Vegetarian types, people who do well with fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and do terribly with animal proteins. Carnivore types, people who do extremely well with red meat, particularly fatty fish, red meat, beef, lamb, pork, some poultry, some fatty fish like swordfish. They always need fat. The carnivores do extremely well on fat. They enjoy other foods like root vegetables and other certain vegetable products, but they do absolutely terrible if they eat salads. If you see somebody at the dinner table who you serve a green salad to and they gag, you can presume that genetically they are carnivore because their body is telling them that's not the right food for them. And then the third type is balanced people, which are somewhere in between. This is Dr. Francis Pottenger Sr., who developed the concept of the autonomic nervous system. He was an American physician and was known for research in tuberculosis. His wife died of tuberculosis in 1898. And that prompted Pottenger to establish a sanatorium in South California in 1903. It became the most successful sanatoriums in California because he had great recovery rates. In 1919, he wrote the book Symptoms of Visceral Disease, which is the most fundamental book to understand the autonomic nervous system. This is a sanatorium in California. This is the book, the original book printed called Symptoms of Visceral Disease. A little bit about autonomic nervous system. Autonomic means automatic. to describe the nerves that can automatically function without having to think about it. It directs heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, function of endocrine glands, respiration, and perspiration. Autonomic nervous system is divided into two components, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Each of them have the opposite effect. This is a picture from the Autonomic Nervous System book by Pottinger that shows sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system also is called fight or flight. It increases heart rate, blood pressure, stimulates thyroid and adrenal glands. Digestive system turns off. It's basically when you in a fight or flight response, you're running away from the animal and you're all stressed out and all you can think of is to run fast and to think. You don't want to eat during that time. So your digestion slows down, the pancreas stops secreting enzymes, the liver stops producing bile. It stimulates metabolism and causes breakdown of fat and muscles because you need to use those muscles and fat in order to perform fast and productively. And it also inhibits immune function. And then there is parasympathetic system, which is also called rest and digest. So after the fight and flight, when you finally have time to rest, you can now relax. Your heart rate slows down, your blood pressure goes down, your digestive tract now starts working because now it's time to eat. So your hydrochloric acid production increases, your pancreatic enzymes production increases, you release bile from the liver, and your intestinal movements start working better. It also enhances immune functions and slows down the thyroid and adrenal hormones. This is what Dr. Gonzalez said on sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. The two systems operate together in every moment of our lives, adjusting metabolism to suit each situation we face. This system allows us to adapt constructively to the physical and emotional world around us. During his early clinical work in 1920s, Pottinger noticed that some of his patients were born with a very strong, perhaps overly developed sympathetic nervous system and a weak parasympathetic system. Those patients are called sympathetic dominants. Pottinger identified that there were a series of ailments that were pertinent to those type of people. Emotionally, these people were very anxious, irritable, reactive, and easily upset. Such patients tended to be very disciplined and have good routines. Structurally, they were thin because of their strong thyroid and adrenal function. These patients, Pottinger reported having strong muscles but terrible digestion. In other patients, Pottinger found strong parasympathetic system and correspondingly weak sympathetic system. In this group, Pottinger claimed all the organs and glands normally stimulated by strong parasympathetic system, such as the entire digestive tract and the immune system, were overly developed and overly active. But in these patients, the organs controlled by weak sympathetic systems such as heart, muscles, and thyroid were kind of sluggish and insufficient. Pottinger also described these patients as being calm, slow to anger, but at times also prone to depression. They were undisciplined but very creative. This group suffered degenerative musculoskeletal illnesses, as well as low adrenal and low thyroid function. Such patients had diminished capacity to deal with stress. And then there was a third group, which is a more balanced group. So those people had equally strong and efficient sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. All the tissues and organs and glands in this group were equally developed and equally active. The balanced people had personality that was kind of in between two extremes. They could deal with stress efficiently, but they were not overly reactive. They could be disciplined and could also be creative. The balanced people of these three groups were the most resilient and healthiest. Those three types are very important in today's discussion and very important in the Gonzalez protocol, because it's based on finding the balance between the autonomic and between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And the more balanced the patient becomes through the treatment, the closer they will be to recovery and the easiest it will be to help them. This is a famous cat study by Pottinger Jr. This talks about value of nutrition in how nutrition affects further generations. In early 1930s, the study was conducted, and Pottinger isolated two groups of cats. One group was given high nutritious raw milk and raw meat, and the other group had pasteurized milk and cooked meat. The study tracked down the cats for several generations. So those cats who were from the group that ate raw milk and meat, they grew to be strong, healthy cats with strong bones, teeth, and no illness. And that was across few generations afterwards. And kittens from the pasteurized group, they had serious defects and illnesses. These are very important concepts in the development of our program, because so there's nutrition, which is very important, and there is balancing of autonomic nervous system. And those two concepts are the backbone of the Gonzalez protocol. Why does the protocol work? The cells regenerate. So once you put body into balance, you give it what it needs, it can just regenerate. Healing is achieved on a deeper level. You don't just treat the symptoms, you actually treating the whole person. The body gets what it needs and can function efficiently. With proper nutrition and keeping the autonomic nervous system in balance, everything is in place. The body has enough resources to overcome stress, and even stresses like bacteria, such as Borrelia microbes, which is also considered stress to the body. We are all very different. Another example of how we are different was an anthropologist, Professor Stevenson, who went to the Arctic Circle to study Eskimos. And this is what he said about Eskimos. He spent a long time there just studying those people. He said, here is the whole group of people who are not only eating meat, but thriving on it. They had no cancer, no heart disease, no diabetes, no obesity. They didn't even have a word for depression in their vocabulary because they didn't know what it was. They seemed to be universally happy people. So there's an article in Townsend Letters that that describes one patient who was actually Dr. Gonzalez's patient. Her name is Mary Swander, and she's an author who wrote a book called Maverick and MD about biography, life, and work of Dr. Gonzalez. This patient thrived on carnivore diet. Steak and potatoes, metabolic typing on the Gonzalez protocol. She thrived on steaks and potatoes. These are a couple of quotes from that article that Mary wrote from her visit with Dr. Gonzalez. You're not an Inuit, but almost. Your genes indicate a metabolic type that originally comes from an area just below the Arctic Circle. A macrobiotic diet is a disaster for you. You need to eat meat, meat, meat. Mary never liked being a vegetarian. On a vegetarian diet, she gained weight and felt bloated. Beans and rice gave her terrible gas. Even as a child, she says, I never liked salad or leafy greens. Dr. Gonzalez first categorized her as moderate carnivore, and he suggested that that she would eat poultry or fish once a day and red meat at least once a day. Right away, Mary felt stronger, but later, after another motor vehicle accident that she had, Dr. Gonzalez switched her to extreme carnivore diet. That's diet that's even more strict, that has even more red meat and even less vegetables. Mary, out of curiosity, decided to send her DNA test just to check her DNA. And this test came back showing that actually all of her ancestors originated from Scandinavia, which is just below Arctic Circle, which basically confirmed Dr. Gonzalez's analysis. So why am I telling you all of this? How important this is? There's a relationship between all this historical data and Lyme disease, as well as autoimmunity, which is our topic today. The human body can only be healthy in a state of balance. If we balance the autonomic nervous system, we can overcome any illness. We balance it through nutrition, and that includes the right diet and the right supplements. What is autoimmunity? Autoimmune diseases are caused by inappropriate immune response of the human body. Immune system mistakes what belongs to a person for a pathogen and attacks itself. Autoimmunity could be limited to certain organs or glands, such as Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or it could also be systemic, such as rheumatoid arthritis. Inflammation is the major contributing factor to the autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases are on the rise, and nearly 50 million of Americans have autoimmune diseases. 75% of those are women. Autoimmune diseases are among the top 10 leading causes of death among American women, and there are lots of them. There's more than 100 autoimmune diseases. Examples are rheumatoid arthritis, MS, lupus, scleroderma, Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, Crohn's disease, celiac disease, autoimmune hepatitis, vitiligo, psoriasis, Addison's disease, lichen planus, ankylosing spondylitis, interstitial cystitis. Lyme disease is actually now in the list of autoimmune diseases according to American Autoimmune Associations. Raynaud syndrome, PANS and PANDAS, that's pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder associated with strep and without strep by other pathogens. Cardiomyopathy and many others. The symptoms of autoimmune diseases depending on the organs that affect it. But the general symptoms are basically fatigue, depression, insomnia, allergies, skin rashes, headaches, digestive problems. And now we're going to talk a little bit about Lyme disease and give you a background of what are the symptoms of Lyme. Fatigue, headache, rash, low-grade fever, night and day sweats, joint pains that migrate throughout the body, joint swelling, muscle pain, neck and back pain. There's also sleep problems, cognitive issues, forgetfulness, confusion, neuropathy such as tingling, numbness, burning or stabbing sensations in hands and feet, depression, irritability, mood swings, headaches, anxiety, abnormalities of heart rhythm, such as palpitations, sometimes even AFib, digestive issues, infertility due to hormonal imbalances, vertigo. There's so many symptoms of Lyme disease. And it can really mask any illness. According to Dr. Richard Horowitz, who is a big Lyme doctor, he calls it the great imitator. One of the people from the Global Lyme Alliance, Slater Lawrence, he's an advocate for that site, described how he felt when he was diagnosed with Lyme. Seemingly overnight, I lost my balance and motor skills. Sensory processing became increasingly pronounced, where I could not recognize familiar faces, follow television narratives, or even identify known scents. I would suddenly become violently sick with eating any sugar. I could not focus. I became sensitive to light and sound, and my inability to retrieve words from basic sentences was increasingly pronounced and disconcerting. After being misdiagnosed for years with all kinds of illnesses, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, finally the spinal tap revealed that he had neuroborreliosis. So it's a devastating illness, as you can see, and can cause a variety of symptoms. Lyme originated in Connecticut, Lyme, Connecticut. That's where the name comes from. In 1975, 51 people mysteriously became ill in that area. Those people also simultaneously were bitten by a tick. And the original symptoms were arthritis, and they all had bullseye rash at that time. The researcher Willy Burgdorfer isolated the bacteria that looked like corkscrew, also known as spirochete, from the blood of these patients. The microbe was named after the researcher Borrelia burgdorferi. And from then on, Lyme is now affecting people, humans, mammals, birds, and reptiles. Borrelia microbe is actually very old. It was found inside ticks who were trapped inside amber, dating 20 million years ago. So there were always ticks in the world, and there were always humans, and humans were always bitten by ticks. In 1993, the remnants of an ancient human were recovered from a glacier in Italian Alps. They did an autopsy in 2011 of that human, and that revealed the presence of Borrelia burgdorferi. But surprisingly, the mummy was not showing any signs of degenerative illnesses, but it showed that it was murdered from an error in the back. This was the most intriguing part of the discovery. This human had the microbe, but was still in good shape. This discovery suggested that Borrelia's purpose is not to make the host sick. To complete the life cycle, Borrelia needs to infect a new host via tick bite, reproduce within that host, and then get the host exposed to a new tick when the host is bitten again. If the host is never bitten by another tick, the microbe can never spread to new hosts. In other words, the microbe needs the host to be healthy, at least healthy enough to move and to attract other ticks. The more active the host is, such as hiking activities or other activities, the more tick bites the host will receive, and the better it will be for the microbes. This is the diagram on how the tick actually spread the disease, what I just talked about. So since we know all that information, what happens? If the host is sick, its immune system has been compromised by the microbe prior to receiving it, because it's kind of counterintuitive for the microbe alone to debilitate the host. So that's why that whole hypothesis and finding suggests that treating and just focusing on Lyme disease itself is not efficient. You need to focus on the immune system, which is the key to success in any treatment of Lyme disease. There are factors that unique to the modern world that make people chronically ill, and it's not bacteria alone. Those factors disrupt the immune system, and the presence of bacteria, which was harmless years ago, now resulting in debilitating diseases such as Lyme disease. Illness only happens if and when the immune system is in weakened state and is unable to suppress the aggressiveness of the microbe. The immune system in a nutshell. The immune system is divided into two components, the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. The innate immune system is also called non-specific. This is our body's first line of defense against pathogens. When it works properly, it reacts immediately to all foreign invaders. There is also an adaptive immune system, which is called specific. It's more targeted. It relies on previous exposures to pathogens, so it learns and produces protective antibodies. The adaptive immune system remembers what the person was exposed to, and it's divided into B cells and T cells. And from the T cells, we have CD4 and CD8. So this is a diagram of the immune system. So what happens in the compromised host? Something that we call chronic immune dysfunction. So in a compromised host, Borrelia microbes induce a signal that disrupts the structure within the lymph node architecture. This alters the adaptive immune response of the lymphatics and impairs the immune system by limiting B and T cell production. So the immune system cannot produce those B and T cells that normally would be produced to remember the particular pathogen. In addition, in such host, Borrelia impairs dendritic cells, which are the cells that activate the adaptive immune response. In other words, the dendritic cells are the guards that watch for pathogens. When Borrelia impairs dendritic cells, it also impairs the formation of the B and T cells. So when the host doesn't have B and T cells, cannot fight the pathogens. So we all have lots of microbes as part of our microbiome. If the immune system stays healthy, the host is fine, even in the presence of microbes. If something disrupts the immune system, the disease occurs. In other words, it's not only more tick bites or increased prevalence of Borrelia in our environment, it's the factors that cause chronic immune dysfunction. What are the factors that cause chronic immune dysfunction? Toxins. So we are surrounded by toxins, and you hear a lot these days about toxins. What are the toxins? Those could be heavy metals, glyphosates, mold, toxic fumes, organophosphates. Stress is another toxins, parasites, candida and fungal infections, and various deficiencies such as vitamins, minerals, and essential elements. Conventional medicine doesn't really understand what causes the autoimmune diseases. They believe that it could be caused by a trigger, any trigger, such as bacteria, viruses, fungal infections. There was a case of MS patient that thought he had MS, but it happened after he took antibiotics. And all symptoms got resolved when he took an antifungal medication. There's various toxins, stresses, certain medications, and hormonal imbalances. So any of these factors can cause an autoimmune disease. we believe that toxin is causative factors, and those are pesticides, GMOs, heavy metals, air pollution, water pollution, toxins, EMF, and lots more. This is a picture of the Earth in 2002, and then in 2018, and you can see in 2002 it was different color. You can see some green, blue, some brown. The blue was much nicer blue, and in 2018 it kind of all looks grayish. So it's all toxins, and right now in 2024 it's probably even worse. So the symptoms of toxicity, how do we know that somebody is toxic? One of the most important and easy to recognize symptoms is fatigue. And it begins when people don't want to do anything, especially nothing extra besides work and home. They just go work, home, no more fun in their life. They don't want to be dancing anymore, skiing, or things that they used to like. Later, as they get worse, they can't even work anymore. Also, depression, insomnia, allergies, skin rashes. When someone gets skin rashes, it really means their liver is overloaded with toxins. Headaches, digestive problems. So what do these symptoms really remind you of? Those are the common symptoms of autoimmune diseases, and those are the symptoms of chronic Lyme. The modern treatment of Lyme disease really is not great. There's no great option there. There's currently two models to treat Lyme disease. One is by Infectious Disease Society of America that says Lyme disease is hard to catch and easy to cure. They don't recognize that Lyme could be chronic and believe that Lyme can be treated with a short course of antibiotics. And then there is ILADS, which is Lyme and Associated Disease Society, that believes that Lyme could be chronic, and they usually use courses of antibiotics and don't rely so much on testing. ILADS doctors usually recommend more aggressive and longer antibiotics. They may treat high-risk tick bites for more time and just treat Lyme disease longer with more antibiotics. ILADS physicians believe that ongoing symptoms probably reflect active infection, which they believe should be treated until the symptoms resolve. These physicians use treatment approaches employed for persistent infections, such as different, not just one antibiotic, but combination of antibiotics. What are the treatments of autoimmune diseases? Usually the anti-inflammatory drugs, such as NSAIDs to reduce pain and inflammation, corticosteroids to reduce inflammation, and immunosuppressive agents. Why are those treatments not very successful for both Lyme and autoimmune diseases? Most of treatments for Lyme, even by more comprehensive ILADS doctors, focus on eradicating the bugs. They use toxic substances that further impact the health of the liver and kidneys. They further suppress the immune system. They don't look for the cause of why that person got sick in the first place. A lot of them do supportive therapies such as heavy metal detoxification, mold removal, candida treatments, but it still doesn't work in many cases. And the reason is because everything is done separately. There is no comprehensive approach. So when there's chronic immune dysfunction and somebody has toxins, those toxins actually differentiate why some people, when they see the bullseye rash and develop symptoms right away, And then there are people who don't develop symptoms. The toxins also differentiate why some people have an acute illness and then recover quickly and others don't. The toxins also differentiate why some people after a major stressful event develop chronic Lyme without even a tick bite. Both autoimmune and chronic Lyme are caused by chronic immune dysfunction, which is caused by toxins in the first place. So what are we going to do about toxins? It's impossible to eliminate them. We live in a toxic world. We can minimize them by eating organic vegetables, grass-fed, free-range meat, hormone-free fish, but we are still surrounded by this pool of toxins. So what we put in our mouths matters, of course, but it can't completely save you. We still breathe the air that's polluted, and even if we only eat organic food, there is still pesticides there. We also cannot protect ourselves from EMF completely. So is it really possible to be healthy in this unhealthy environment? If you only eat organic, do you think you'll be able to isolate yourself from all of these toxins in the earth that's so polluted right now? So we need to develop a design that uses some kind of system and program to help ourselves stay healthy, even in this huge pool of toxins. If we don't do it, that's where autoimmune diseases, cancer, chronic Lyme disease, and other illnesses come from. I see that the Gonzalez protocol is the solution. So why Gonzalez protocol? How is it different? And how can it help to solve this world problem that affects us so much today? There are three main components in the Gonzalez protocol: individualized nutrition, individualized supplementation, and individualized detoxification. All three components need to be done simultaneously. One cannot do one or two of the components and omit the third one. It simply will not work. Let's talk about individualized nutrition. We are constantly hearing all the conflicting information about what diet is best for us. Some say we need to be vegetarians. Some say we need to be keto to fight off pathogens. Some say Mediterranean diet is best for us. But what is true for us? We are all different based on our genetics, climate we used to live in and grew up in, and what our ancestors ate. We cannot all eat the same and feel the same. In today's world, people move around, so how can you tell for sure where your ancestors are from? You may have encountered genes from a mixture of people from different continents. There are doctors who trained in the Gonzalez protocol, we have the ways of determining exactly your metabolic type. And we do it via detailed history, physical exam, blood work, and other tests. We confirm those different methods between each other and make sure they match. And only then we can determine your metabolic type and what diet is best for you. Once we know your metabolic type, then the supplement protocol follows. Also, based on your history, concerns, blood work, and other tests, we can tell which organs are deficient and need support, and our supplement program is addressing that. Finally, we can tell if you have any interfering factors, such as various infections, parasites, fungal, bacterial, and viral. And based on that, we may suggest herbs, natural elimination of those microorganisms without the antibiotics, but only in the presence of the full protocol. We find that if you give the body what it needs, we don't need big guns such as antibiotics. but herbal remedies work beautifully in the presence of the protocol. That also explains why some of the old herbalists were so successful with just herbs, and we are not so much anymore. But the foundation of the Gonzalez protocol plus the herbs give great results. So based on detailed history, tests, and physical exam, we can also determine the structural health of the person. And sometimes we refer people to specialized chiropractors and acupuncturists. Finally, psychological component is very important. We also can address it via different methods. Sometimes we refer people, and also the certain supplements can help calm the nervous system and reduce stress. Now let's talk about detoxification. Detoxification was so important in Dr. Kelly's recovery, but that was more than 50 years ago. So at that point, Earth was not so polluted, but now it's 10 times more important. We have various ways to detoxify the body, and those ways can be applied via general detoxifications, and also we use detox to balance the autonomic nervous system. Some of those methods include coffee enemas, liver flash, colon cleanse, and various forms of fasting. We also use various baths, skin brushing, exercise, and many other ways of detox. We also suggest how to minimize toxins from your life, starting with your home, building materials, and many other factors. Detoxification is very, very important. So these are a couple of cases from my practice that I'd like to share with you. First patient is Michael. Michael came to see me a year ago. He was from out of state. He was diagnosed with Lyme disease, neuroborreliosis for 10 years. He has seen numerous doctors. The treatments that he had in the past were long-term antibiotic therapy with ILADS doctors, as well as working with functional medicine doctors using IV vitamin C, IV chelation, Rife machine. He also saw a local Chinese doctor who did acupuncture and Chinese herbs. He came to see me because his local therapist recommended the Gonzalez protocol. The local therapist herself had done the protocol and successfully recovered years ago with Dr. Gonzalez. This is what we did for Michael. First, when the patient applies to us, we interview them. We want to make sure that this person is the right fit for the program. And Michael was. The main idea behind an interview process is because the program is so involved. We want to make sure the patient will actually do it and will have successful outcome. I have had patients who were not willing to take a lot of supplements, or could not do the coffee enemas for some reason, or were too busy so they could not dedicate themselves to the program completely. And in that case, we say that it's not a good idea to start the program until all these criteria could be met. The second part of the process, if the patient is a good fit, we make an extensive medical history, perform physical exam. In the case of Michael, there were several things that stood out through the interview. Michael also had a mental illness that was not genetic. The mental illness was diagnosed simultaneously at the start of the Lyme disease. He was on 2 psychiatric medications that helped him focus and control his moods. There was a history of tick bite in high school, but no bullseye rash. However, the bullseye rash does not need to be present because many ticks do not cause the rash. The diagnosis of Lyme was made through IGeneX lab some years ago. However, there was a stressful event that happened about 6 months prior to the start of the symptoms. The past history of this patient was insignificant, other than some family stress and mild ADHD in school that the patient had. The main symptoms that Michael presented with at the time of his first visit were fatigue, poor concentration, memory problems, brain fog, depression with suicidal thoughts, anxiety, headaches, allergies, constipation, back, neck, and shoulder pain. His general symptoms are very important in our interview because that helps us to determine the metabolic types. Michael likes to eat meat. He likes fatty foods. He liked to put fat on foods. He also liked pasta and vegetables. He was prone to constipation, and his mood seemed to fluctuate. We also looked at some tests that helped us to figure out the metabolic type. And the constellation of symptoms plus the tests and person's characteristics, that all together helps us to determine the metabolic type. In Michael's case, he was a balanced type, which is kind of in the middle. But balanced, even though according to all these doctors that we talked about, Pottinger, Dr. Kelly, were the healthiest type, it doesn't mean that it's always healthy. The trick with balanced people is to keep them right in the middle. Any deviation from the balanced state can throw them into an extreme. That's why this person was susceptible to mood fluctuations. So we do just that. We balance the metabolic type with diet and the right supplements. In Michael's case, he needs to eat balanced meals, some meat, some poultry, some vegetables, some fruit, eggs, dairy, and beans. Basically, it's very balanced diet without extremes. Michael loved the diet and thrived on it. I also asked him to completely eliminate gluten from his diet to reduce inflammation. In the beginning of the protocol, he could not eat dairy, but after several candida cleanses, he was able to eat good quality dairy, which he enjoyed and was fine with it. Candida was something that I found Michael suffered from based on his symptoms and confirmation of some tests. He had to go through a year of candida protocol until he was free of it. Candida is a very important element in treating Lyme disease because it can also mask a lot of symptoms. The problem with Candida is that a lot of patients start with antibiotics and then they develop Candida. It can easily be confused with Lyme disease because symptoms could be very similar. I had several patients who believed they had Lyme and they actually had Candida, and once we treated them from Candida, they were fine and fine now for many, many years. Many patients start off with islets, trained doctor, and then all these antibiotics throw them off, and it's really hard to eliminate Candida from their system. And the Lyme and Candida symptoms overlap a lot too. These are the Candida symptoms, which you can recognize the same or similar symptoms of Lyme: fatigue, fungal infections of the nails, headaches, digestive symptoms, skin problems, rashes, depression, mood swings, muscle and joint pain. The difference between muscle and joint pain with Candida versus Lyme is that with Candida, they do not migrate throughout the body. The Lyme usually migrates throughout the body, pain. Sweet cravings, reactive hypoglycemia, thrush in the mouth, and yeast infections. So another very important thing we did for Michael, we designed a specific supplement protocol to match his metabolic type. The main supplements to balance the metabolic type are calcium, magnesium, potassium, vitamin C, D, B, vitamins K, E, A, pantothenic acid. I also included glandular supplements, which help to support specific organs that seem to be weaker in his body. This was again based on some of the tests and history. The glandular supplements we used with him was adrenal, thymus, liver, and spleen. Finally, we did a lot of detoxification. For detoxification, he did coffee enemas, liver flashes, juice fasting, colon cleanses, and some of the other methods. Specifically for Lyme, I added some herbal formulas, which was an additional modality to treat Lyme and support the immune system. We also did antiparasitic protocol, and then there were also heavy metals to clean up. So overall, everything worked, and it's a multi-system approach, as you can see. It's very complex. It's not just one, but many therapists together. To summarize, what we did for Michael was individualized diet, individualized supplements, detoxification, herbs to treat bacterial, fungal, and parasitic infections, heavy metal detoxification. And the reason I believe it worked is because we did it all together with the right things based on what his body needed. What Michael did in the past did not work because the treatments only focused on elimination of pathogens, which I believe is a mistake. Whether it's antibiotics or herbs or chelators, you cannot just base your focus on elimination and getting rid of something. One cannot eradicate pathogens if the immune system is not working. One cannot get the immune system to work if the body is full of toxins. Michael did some detoxes in the past, but it was not systematic. It was here and there, one here, one there, but nothing consistent. One needs a system for it to work. Here is another patient. So this patient had an autoimmune disease. Her name is Rosa. She came to see me for scleroderma. Scleroderma is an autoimmune disease and also known as systemic sclerosis. It involves hardening and tightening of the skin. It may also cause problems in the blood vessels, internal organs, and digestive tract. Rosa was diagnosed with scleroderma in 2005. Her rheumatologist told her to take medication for life. Her main symptoms were fatigue, skin thickening. She had very tight skin, especially in the chest, back, abdomen, legs, arms. You could not even touch her. She felt like bored. Raynaud's phenomenon, various problems with digestion, severe food allergies. She can only eat 5 foods. The rest she was allergic to. She had dizziness, exercise intolerance, and irregular heartbeat. She also couldn't sleep. Her rheumatologist really wanted her to start an immunosuppressant to avoid complications. He believed it could affect her lungs and her internal organs, but she didn't want to. She wanted to find natural solution, and she found us through research. This was her first step, which is very unusual for our practice, because usually our practice is the last step for people after they've tried 20 doctors before, but you know, something God brought her to us. And when she came in, her skin was hard like a board, like I said, you could literally not touch her. Her metabolism was between moderate and extreme carnivore. She was allergic to most fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and grains. This is what we did for Rosa. We eliminated gluten out of her diet. She could only have 1 or 2 vegetables because the rest she was allergic to. I think she could have broccoli and something else. She did coffee enemas, liver flashes, and colon cleanses. She also detoxed heavy metals. We put her on a diet. She took pancreatic enzymes between meals for inflammation. And I put her on the supplement protocol, which I had to be very creative because she could not tolerate many supplements. And months later, her skin felt a little bit better. She improved in energy and sleep. 2 months later, she greatly improved in her digestion and skin felt even softer. And with her, to measure her progress was easy because of her skin. Because she came to see me, her skin felt like a board, literally speaking, and then her skin would get softer and softer and softer. 3 months later, the skin felt even softer, digestion normalized, and rainouts disappeared. 5 months into the protocol, she started to exercise because she couldn't before. 6 months into the treatment, she was able to eat more foods, and a year later had no symptoms. There were few, I've known this patient for many years now. There were few setbacks over the years, but generally was caused by stress, severe stress, and those setbacks were only digestive disturbances for the most part. But overall, she has no remnants of scleroderma. So I want to talk to you about, in case if you're interested in the Gonzalez protocol, how to apply and why do you need to apply. As I mentioned before, the protocol is very involved. It requires commitment and dedication. It's also a lifestyle and not just a quick fix. One needs to be open to an idea of doing coffee enemas and other detox procedures. One needs to have an ability to cook at home and eat the food that is required. Generally, people who have faith in the program and believe that it's the right program for them, they do very well. Sometimes if people are conflicted and do not trust, just like with any other therapist, it may not work. And this is how to apply. You can either contact our office. Our website is www.bigapplehealth.com in Westport, Connecticut, or you can contact the Nicholas Gonzalez Foundation, the gonzalezprotocol.com, and apply online.
Well, thank you, Marina. So folks, you can certainly contact Dr. Yanover's office directly, or you can apply to meet with her or one of the other Gonzalez Guardian doctors around the world. They're based in, well, Dr. Yanover's in Connecticut. We also have doctors in North Carolina, Mexico, Jamaica, the UK, and Turkey. As Marina mentioned, we do have an application process to make sure that you can actually benefit from this protocol. We don't want to waste anybody's time traveling to a clinic or having you send in your payment only to then find out that it really isn't a good fit for your situation. We have medical doctors as well as naturopaths on our team, and some of them are oncologists, and most of them offer telemedicine in addition to the opportunity to meet at their clinics. So Dr. Yanover spoke at length about how she determines a patient's metabolic type. For those of you who don't have a serious medical diagnosis and aren't in need of a doctor, we offer the Gonzalez Metabolic Type Test online. It's a series of about 100 questions. They're all multiple choice. After you take the test, you can receive an 18-page detailed nutritional plan based on Dr. Gonzalez's metabolic diets. We also have advice in there about how to cook with herbs, how to prepare your foods, and a shopping list. And for those of you who are on this webinar today, you can use the coupon TEST 2023. So that's capital TEST 2023 to get $25 off the full price. And that coupon expires on March 1st. So after we heard from a bunch of current and past patients that once they learned all about what they're supposed to be eating and the foods that they're supposed to be consuming and what they're not supposed to eat, they said, well, how do we cook those and make, yummy food that we want to eat? So we created the Gonzalez Protocol Cookbook. And there's a bunch of recipes in there from Dr. Kelly, Dr. Pottinger, Dr. Gonzalez, as well as patients who are on the Gonzalez Protocol. My husband taught me how to cook. So a lot of the recipes in this cookbook are actually recipes that we would make together. And you can only get this cookbook through our publishing website, which is down here at the bottom of the slide, newspringpress.com. So at the beginning of our webinar, most of you took our little poll, and it seems that a lot of you are new to our webinars and you might be new to this work. Or if you just want to learn more, here are 3 key links that I would recommend that you take a look at for some free information about our website, about our protocol. You've got an overview of the protocol. You've got a lot of videos, both from current Gonzalez Guardians as well as testimonials and original videos from Dr. Gonzalez. And then there's more information about metabolic typing on our website as well. So I think now is a good time for us to jump into answering your questions. I'm just going to stop the share